I just want to warn you now that this is long. All names have been changed. First off, I love my family very much. I have 3 aunts, 2 uncles, and 4 cousins by blood that are very close to me. So, of course, when my mother won the trip to Walt Disney World for 10, we knew that we had to make it a big family trip. We paid for my Aunt Bonnie and her husband Ron, Aunt Jean, Cousin Audrey, Uncle Bruce, Uncle Dan, and Aunt Linda, but we invited everyone else to come if they could pay. My family is comprised of doctors, engineers, stewardesses, and for God's sake, my grandfather was an actual rocket scientist. They could absolutely pay. Well, we planned ahead and all got a flight that landed in Orlando at about the same time, and we got adjoining rooms at the hotel. Altogether, we took up 5 rooms. Even though all my cousins are old enough to drink, Nathan, Audrey, and I played with the doors that connected our family's rooms. It was late when we got to Florida. We didn't account for the 4-hour time change, so my aunts, uncles, and mom, who were all older, went to bed fairly soon after we checked into our rooms. But my cousins, my sister, and I are all young and in a Disney hotel without parental supervision. You could probably guess where this is going. And I will admit, we did act a bit childishly, but, I felt happier than I had in a long time. We swam and played rough in the pool. My cousin Nathan commandeered a luggage cart and raced us down the hallways with like a little skateboard. We took a whole bunch of soaps from the maid cart and we didn't get caught. Sarah was being a bit of a mother and she eventually lightened up, so she had some fun too. We were all laughing so hard that Audrey wet herself. She excused herself to go change, but when she got back, she looked different. It's getting late, and Sarah's right. We are being a little rowdy, Audrey mumbled. I think it's about time we go to bed. I checked my phone to see what time it actually was, and I think everyone else checked too. A big 12:17 a.m. glared at me. Whoa. Yeah, we better get back to the room, Nathan said. He pushed us back to our respective rooms, but we vowed to meet for the free breakfast downstairs at 8:30 a.m. My sister and I got in, put on our PJs, and fell asleep, and didn't wake up until 7:56. I awoke to the sound of my sister screeching to my mother that she didn't have enough time to do her makeup and that she wouldn't be joining us for breakfast. My mom was trying to convince her that she looked fine and that they're family and don't care what she looked like. I got up and started my morning routine. Who are you trying to impress anyway? Goofy? My God, Mom, no! I started laughing quietly with toothpaste still in my mouth. A tip, never laugh with anything in your mouth, especially toothpaste. Well, what if there's a cute guy down there, and he's supposed to be my soulmate, but we don't get to spend the day at the park, and start a relationship because I look like one of those stupid monster things Caitlin watches on TV? I could hear my sister cry. I started laughing harder because I imagined Goofy looming behind my sister while sitting at the breakfast table. Don't laugh at me. Just go without me. I'll catch up. She was insistent, and my mom eventually gave up. I sat down on the nice couch in the room and waited for my mom to finish getting ready. We finally got down to the breakfast area at 8:35 and met up with the rest of our family. I left to get my mom's food and make my own from the buffet area. I was waiting for the waffle to finish cooking when I noticed something black in the corner of my vision. Curiosity got the best of me, and I turned around to see what the shadow was. It was Mickey himself, standing a couple feet away from me, entertaining a table full of sweets. It got colder, blowing down from above, which I assumed was just the AC vent sending some Disney magic into the room. The waffle maker beeped. I got the almost burnt waffle onto a plate, grabbed it as well as the rest of my food, and took it back to my table. By this time, my sister had rejoined us, with her full Disney World ensemble on except the lipstick. I swear to God, she looked like an MAC worker who gets paid commission came by, and threw everything that they had on her. She had her head tipped back even when she was eating, and no one could figure out why. Finally, my Aunt Bonnie ventured a question. Autumn, are you feeling okay? Oh, yeah, I'm fine. I'm just waiting for my lash glue to set. She was wearing fake eyelashes to Disney World. I should have known. This is just the kind of junk I have to put up with all the time. After breakfast, we went back up to our rooms and grabbed up whatever we would need for the park. It took us only a couple of minutes, but to me it felt like forever. I was so excited that I waited outside our room in the hallway for my sister and mother to finish getting ready. Luckily, Nathan and Aunt Bonnie were waiting in the hallway too, so I wasn't too bored. It seemed like once my sister emerged from the room, we were in the park in a matter of seconds. We were all giddy and eager to get on a ride, so we planned which one would be the best to ride first. Uncle Bruce suggested Jungle Cruise, and we all laughed, remembering the family story of him getting scared by the skipper wielding a gun on the original ride the first year Disneyland was open. Like I said earlier, my aunts and uncles are older. We decided the Jungle Cruise was the best bet, so we got in line, and looked at the scenery while we waited. We got to the front of the line, and packed into a boat. I was about to get on when the worker stopped me and said that there were too many on that boat, and that I'd have to wait for the next one. My mom offered to wait with me, but I declined and told her to have fun. The boat with my family shoved off, and I was put in the empty single rider's line. The next boat swung around in no time, and I got on. It was basically the same ride I loved at Disneyland, with a few minor changes. I gazed in amazement at all the robotic animals and live trees. I even looked down into the green water, only to see my reflection. I guess I looked too closely into the water, though, because I fell. I felt a hand on my back, but it was too late. I was already in the water. Now, you might not think that this is such a big deal, but those boats are on a track, and so are the animals. I couldn't see where I was kicking, and one mistake could result in my foot hitting a gear, and that's the best case scenario. I thought I was just treading water, but I soon found myself downstream, near the alligators. I was very scared, but I was trying my best to stay calm and not get any of the gross water into my mouth or nose. Soon enough, an empty boat came by to pull me out of the water, and I was rejoined with my worried family. My mom took me back to our room so I could take a shower, while the rest of our group went on to another ride. While I was bathing, a man came to our room wanting to speak with my mom. She told me she'd be right back, and by the time I got out and had fresh clothes on, she was. The man was from their legal team, and they worked out a compensation for my trauma. Our entire family's vacation was now all-inclusive, with $200 spending money each. I mean, I guess you could say that my mom made a good deal. Thankfully, my mom had my stuff when we went on the Jungle Cruise, so I just put on my backpack and off we went to meet up with the rest of our family. We found them fairly quickly with the help of some vague texts from my sister, more descriptive texts from my cousin Audrey, a park map, and a cast member. They were deciding what to ride next, and Uncle Dan was trying to convince everyone that we should ride the train. Not the train that went around the park. No. The Thunder Mountain Railroad train. No one wanted to go on a roller coaster right then, including me, so he said he'd go by himself and meet us for lunch at the pizza place in Tomorrowland. We waved goodbye to Uncle Dan as he went off to find another ride, and he went to the back of the line. We decided to go on the Indiana Jones ride before lunch, which was a bad idea because half of our family got motion sickness. Uncle Dan didn't also have a cell phone, so we had to either wait for him at the meeting place, which would make many people sick due to the food, or meet him at the ride. Needless to say, our group didn't want anyone throwing up, so we went to wait for him on the exit of the ride. We figured since we had only been gone 45 minutes, Dan would either still be in line or on the ride. We waited an hour, but there was still no sign of him. Our family was getting really worried. Some thought the line was longer than we thought. Some thought Dan went back to his room without telling us. But the rest thought that he went over to the meeting place and was waiting for us there. We sent a small expedition team of my sister, my cousin Sarah, my Aunt Jean, and Uncle Bruce over to Tomorrowland to find our lost one. We waited another 15 minutes before we got the call that Dan was nowhere in sight. Frustrated and very hungry, my Aunt Linda went over to the cast member sweeping nearby to ask for help. She didn't get to finish before a shriek filled the air. And I'll tell you, this wasn't your normal, "Oh, I'm on a thrill ride, wouldn't it be fun to scream?" This was, "I woke up while they were doing a minor surgery on me" scream. A deafening crack split across the sky, like thunder, except there wasn't a cloud in the sky. Everyone looked wildly around to find the source of the sound, but it seemed everywhere. Someone pointed to the ride behind us with their mouth agape. I instinctively looked. A train was falling out of the sky, directly towards the track. We ran over to where Aunt Linda was and stared in horror as the train screeched towards the ride, appearing to be on track to crashing into a car that was already on the rails. I squinted my eyes, and just before impact, the falling train stopped. It hovered for a second before gliding onto the exit platform. We all screamed when we saw Uncle Dan emerge from the crazy train. He sauntered through the exit and rejoined us. "Hey," he said. What's going on? Did something happen?" I was shocked. He didn't remember a thing. I texted my sister to let them know that we found Uncle Dan and that we were coming over to the food place. We prompted him on our way over, but he brushed it off like we were playing a joke on him. I had a bad feeling about something, but I kept going because I didn't want to hold anyone back or miss out. Soon enough, we got our food and everything seemed to be more or less back to normal. I was halfway through my slice of pizza when I had to use the bathroom. I was still a little shook up about the whole Jungle Cruise thing, as anyone would be, so I asked my mom if she would come with me. She agreed, and we excused ourselves from the table. Surprisingly, there was no line for the women's restroom, so I just went right in while my mom waited outside near the drinking fountain. But you know how you can sort of see outside the stall from in between the cracks? Well, I was looking around. I normally do this when I'm anxious, and my eyes locked on the wall vent near the sinks. Something black was coming out, but I couldn't quite make it out, like it was blurred out or something. I blinked a couple of times to clear my vision, but the blurriness stayed the same. I kept looking at this bit of weirdness until some of it spilled out onto the floor. It looked like the end of one of those cheesy Grim Reaper outfits kids wear for Halloween. This struck a fear in me I've only felt one other time, but I knew somehow that I couldn't let it know I was scared or even saw it. Trying to keep my cool, I called my mom in while I watched the thing coming out of the vent. As soon as I heard her footsteps on the linoleum, the vent creature evaporated like smoke. I got out of there as fast as possible, and was going to tell the others when the speaker crackled to life. Attention. The park will be temporarily closed due to maintenance. We are sorry for any inconvenience. We packed up our food and headed for the nearest exit. I noticed while we were waiting in line to get out, a couple of guys wearing black shirts and khaki pants run from a door out into the park. I'm guessing they were park security, because on their belts they had guns. The line moved quickly after that, and soon enough we had our hands stamped. We got back to our rooms, and I took a nap while we waited for the park to reopen. My mom woke me up after they made the announcement that the park was open again, and I was ready to go back in a flash. When we got back in, though, one of the first things I noticed were the ropes around the entrances to only the single rider lines.